Test this. All right. One drop, two drop, mic test. I think it's good. So we are ready to start. Good afternoon, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Welcome to this edition of the WaterTalk seminar series, where we convene minds, share ideas, and also explore practical solutions to some of the most pressing water challenges. My name is Mokhtar Dembele. I'm a researcher at the International Water Management Institute, and I'm honored to be here with you today. Can you move the slides? It's not working. Yes, I'm honored to be here with you today as your moderator for this session, together with my colleague, Mrs. Bobtoya Ousu Amofa. We will also be managing the facilitation of the seminar online for the online participants. Sadia, are you with us? She responded, but I think the volume is a bit low. So before proceeding further, I would like to share with you some housekeeping rules. So the seminar is hybrid and available in English and French. So you will see that we have some headsets for the translation. So we have translation in English and French. So please use the headsets if you need translation. If you are also online, you can choose your channel for the language that you are most comfortable with. Please put your phone also on silent mode for the benefit of everybody. And the seminar is also interactive. So kindly make sure that you have internet for our quiz and Menti questions. And for the on-site participant, we've distributed some QR codes. And we would like you to scan this to mark your presence so that later on we can share some of the materials that will come out of this seminar. For the online participants, you will be all be muted during this seminar, and we will give you the opportunity to ask questions during the questions and answer session. And the recording of the seminar will be shared with other resources soon after the seminar. So let's look at the program that we have for you today. So we'll start with the seminar overview and objective, and then that will follow by the opening session, where we will have opening remarks from ECOWAS, our key partner for this WaterTalk. This is the third in the series. That will be followed by a short quick on the topic of irrigation, just to test your knowledge on this topic. And then we will have a keynote presentation, which will be followed by a panel discussion. And after the panel, we'll give the opportunity to the audience to interact with our speakers today and everybody. And then we'll have our visual artist to share an insight, and then the note that she'll be taking during the seminar. Then we'll also need your attention for maybe 5-10 minutes to capture your feedback and recommendation on the seminar. Close with a closing remarks from our DG at IWMI, and then the vote of thanks. So today's seminar focuses on rethinking irrigation for resilience in West Africa. In the face of climate change, rapid population growth, and also increasing water demand, irrigation stands at the center of a critical conversation. Across West Africa, agriculture is the backbone of livelihoods and also food security. Yet, smallholder farmers who feed millions are the most vulnerable, or among the most vulnerable, when it comes to climate shocks and water stress. So today we ask bold questions. How can we move beyond traditional irrigation approaches? Then what innovations, technologies, partnerships can strengthen the resilience of farming systems? And finally, how do we ensure that irrigation investments are not only sustainable, but they are also inclusive, climate smart, and locally grounded? So we are fortunate to be joined by distinguished speakers today who will share their insights with us and also help us reimagine how irrigation can support both people and also ecosystems. So without further ado, let's start with the opening remarks. And I have the distinct honor to invite Mr. Kwaku Alexis Kwasi, who is the Director for Water Resources Management Center of the ECOWAS Commission. So if you are with us, Mr. Kwaku, please unmute yourself for your speech.
Thanks. Ok, bonjour à tous. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Bonjour à tous, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, on vous entend, oui.
Ok, donc je peux y aller?
Oui, vous pouvez aller.
Ok.
Donnez-nous juste 30 secondes, donnez-nous juste 30 secondes pour distribuer les casques. Voilà, pour la traduction. Merci.
D'accord. Bon, peut-être pour faciliter la communication, peut-être je vais couper la caméra.
Non, c'est tout bon, on vous entend. Merci.
Très bien. Mesdames et messieurs, honorables participants à ce WaterTalk numéro 3 de IMI et la CEDEAO par l'entremise du Centre de gestion des ressources en eau. Avant tout propos, je voudrais vraiment vous dire merci d'avoir accepté de participer à cette troisième édition. Nous avons déjà fait 2 avec succès l'année passée et je crois que c'est la première pour cette année 2025 dans le cadre de notre partenariat avec IMI, partenariat que nous sommes pratiquement prêts à matérialiser par la signature au cours donc de cette année. L'Afrique de l'Ouest regorge d'importantes ressources en eau, le plus souvent transfrontalières, et la gestion de ces ressources partagées est au cœur du processus régional de gestion intégrée des ressources en eau qui a cours en Afrique de l'Ouest, sous l'égide de la CEDEAO, depuis la conférence ouest-africaine sur la gestion intégrée des ressources en eau tenue à Ouagadougou en mars 1998. On estime qu'environ 10% seulement des terres potentiellement irrigables de la sous-région sont actuellement irriguées, peut-être même moins, et le potentiel de développement est énorme. La contrainte majeure au développement agricole de l'Afrique de l'Ouest n'est pas liée à la disponibilité de l'eau, mais plutôt au manque d'infrastructures pour stocker et acheminer l'eau vers les cultures. Et c'est justement dans ce cadre que la CEDEAO, à travers le Centre de gestion des ressources en eau, a initié entre juillet 2009 et juillet 2011 une vaste concertation régionale sur le développement des grandes infrastructures hydrauliques en Afrique de l'Ouest, visant à contribuer à un développement harmonieux des États membres et à l'intégration régionale, à travers notamment la mise en œuvre d'un dialogue sur les infrastructures dans le secteur de l'eau, avec en toile de fond la réalisation d'infrastructures socialement justes, respectueuses de l'environnement, économiquement rentables et résilients au changement climatique. Cet exercice a notamment abouti à l'élaboration de lignes directrices pour le développement d'infrastructures hydrauliques en Afrique de l'Ouest en 2012 et à l'adoption d'une directive régionale en la matière au mois de décembre 2024, donc décembre dernier. Vous m'entendez?
Oui, on vous entend.
Alors, une importante initiative portant sur la réalisation à terme de barrages pour le stockage de l'eau, la régulation du débit des rivières et l'irrigation dans la région de l'espace CEDEAO a été également lancée depuis l'année dernière, donc 2024, sous l'égide de l'unité de préparation et de développement des projets, le PPDU de la CEDEAO. Par ailleurs, la CEDEAO est également partie prenante à l'initiative pour l'irrigation au Sahel, née de la déclaration de Dakar sur l'irrigation de 2013, qui vient de faire son premier bilan décennal lors du forum de haut niveau sur l'irrigation au Sahel tenu tout récemment à Dakar. C'est dire combien de fois le thème repenser l'irrigation pour la résilience en Afrique de l'Ouest, qui est le thème de notre WaterTalk de ce jour, est de grande actualité et nous serons très très attentifs au niveau donc concernant donc la CEDEAO. Nous serons très attentifs aux idées qui ne manqueront pas de sortir des présences assises pour promouvoir des solutions durables et des stratégies collaboratives pour améliorer l'irrigation en Afrique de l'Ouest. C'est sur ces quelques mots que je voudrais, comme on a l'habitude de dire, que nous puissions ensemble valoriser les ressources en eau pour transformer notre Afrique de l'Ouest, et surtout que je voulais conclure en vous souhaitant un plein succès à ces échanges et qu'ils soient fructueux pour l'ensemble des parties prenantes de la sous-région. Merci à IWMI pour cette collaboration que nous allons continuer et merci à tout le monde et à très bientôt. Je vous remercie.
Merci bien, Monsieur Kwasi. Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Kwasi? IWMI aussi vous remercie pour la confiance que vous nous portez pour le partenariat sur ce séminaire-là. Donc, après, so after these opening remarks, we are going to have a quick and short quiz just to test your knowledge on this topic. So kindly scan this QR code with your smartphone, and then we can start. Or you can also go to this link, menti.com, and then use this code below, 64185170. If you go to menti.com, 78, yeah, okay. If you go to menti.com, then you can use the following code, 64185178. Are we ready? It's just down there. Maybe we should have put it up. So the code is 64185178. If you are joining us online, you can directly do it also from your laptop. Are you ready? Yes? Okay, let's start. I can see that we have 36 players. Wow, that's a big number. So with different names, let's see who will be winning. So if we are ready to go, 37 players coming up. 38, 39, 41. Yeah, the number is at the top over there. 64185178. So we have 42 players now. I think we can start. 44 players. So Maxwell, whenever you are ready. So the first question is, what percentage of Africa's cultivated land is currently under irrigation? What percentage of Africa's cultivated land is currently under irrigation? You are left with about 11 seconds. Is it 3%, is it 6%, 15%, or 20%? All right, 18 people. We see, okay, we have 16 people who got the correct answer. We have about 60% of Africa's cultivated land that is currently under irrigation. All right, so we can move to the next question. 6%, 6. Yeah. Yeah, we can discuss this further afterwards. Okay, second question. Are you ready? All right, let's go. So what percentage of global freshwater withdrawals is used for agriculture? Very, very easy. For sure it's not 10%, for sure it's not 95%. So it's somewhere between 30% and 90%. Just 8 seconds. 3 seconds. Here we go. So the correct answer is 70%. So 70% of global freshwater withdrawals is used for agriculture. Next question. So the winner here is the guy. Who is the guy? Followed by Tom and A. Okay. Question number 3 out of 6. 39 players, 42 players, 43 players are ready. Okay, let's go. So which irrigation approach is gaining attention for its potential to empower smallholder farmers in West Africa? First option, public irrigation scheme. Second option, drip irrigation. Third option, farmer-led irrigation development. And last option, fourth option, hydroponics. Which irrigation approach is gaining attention for its potential to empower smallholder farmers in West Africa? Wow, 24 for farmer-led irrigation. Okay, let's see if the guy is still leading. No, the guy is not leading. Sander is getting closer. Okay. So let's move to the next question. So this is the 4th question out of 6. Okay, let's go. So which of the following technologies can enhance water use efficiency in irrigation systems? First option, mobile apps for weather forecast. Second option, solar-powered pumps. Third option, drip irrigation, or all of the above. Which of the following technologies can enhance water use efficiency in irrigation systems? All of the above. So all of the options here, mobile apps or weather forecast, solar-powered pumps, and drip irrigation, are all technologies that can enhance water use efficiency in irrigation systems. Okay, let's see where Sander is now. I can no longer see the guy in the list. It seems like he has disappeared somehow. Okay, the guy, you need to come back. Okay, Sander is still winning the game. Okay, let's move to the 5th question out of 6. 44 players ready. All right, let's go. So the question is, nature-based solution for irrigation often involve wetland restoration, desalination plants, concrete canals, and solar panels. Nature-based solutions for irrigation often involve wetland restoration, desalination plants, concrete canals, solar panels. 8 seconds left. All right. Oop. Do we need to restart or what? Maxwell, what's happening? Is it an issue with the internet or? All right, okay. Okay, wetland restoration was the correct answer. 35 people gave the correct answer. So next question, next and last question. Oh, the guy is coming back. All right, the guy is coming back. And Ofi is now leading, followed by Thomas and then Sander. All right, last question. We are almost there, 45 players, 48. Okay, let's go. Okay, climate smart irrigation technologies primarily aim to increase water use, expand large-scale irrigation schemes, lower the cost of irrigation, or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Climate smart irrigation technologies primarily aim to increase water use, expand large-scale irrigation schemes, lower the cost of irrigation, or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. All right, 18 people got the right answer. So it was reduced greenhouse gas emissions. So let's see who's the winner. Is the guy still there or no? Okay, the winner is Thomas. Who is Thomas? He's not in the room? All right, congratulations, Thomas. You are the winner? Yes. All right, congratulations. Wow, impressive. Okay, thank you everybody for your participation in this quiz, and we hope that you really enjoy it. So stay tuned. We'll have another quiz at the end. But now let's move to the keynote presentation, and I'm honored to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Olofunke Kofi, to present on innovative approaches to irrigation for resilience in West Africa. A round of applause for our keynote speaker, please.
Thank you, Monta. Who else should win? Our director, director for water, food, and ecosystem. So, if we don't win, who else should win? Let's clap for Mercy for winning that quiz. Okay, so shortly, a very short presentation to prep us for the panel discussion and some questions that will follow on innovative approaches to irrigation for resilience in West Africa. So basically, what's our West Africa agricultural reality? The setting, the context in which we operate, and 15 member countries in the West Africa, in the ECOWAS member states. So basically we know, as it is for the whole of Africa actually, that we have predominantly smallholder-based agriculture system. It's predominantly smallholder-based, with rainfall system dominating the production system. Of course, we have rapid population growth and urbanization. I think in Africa, we have the most population growth in West Africa because of the coastal cities in the region. And increasing food demand. Also, we have the largest population, thanks to Nigeria. And of course, we have high exposure to climate variability. May I have your attention there, please? Please don't distract us. So we have high exposure to climate variability, floods, dry spells, erratic rainfall. When we started yesterday, people talked about the keynote speakers and people that spoke, they talked about the flood incidents in Nigeria. We hear about it in the Sahel, the drought spells in the Sahelian regions and all that. So that is our setting. The irrigation potential is vastly underutilized despite abundant surface and groundwater. Particularly groundwater resources in the Sahelian region is huge and it's not fully developed. Yes, so we have more or less economic water scarcity because we are not taking full advantage of what we have. So what does resilience mean for irrigation? It is the ability to adapt, to absorb, and transform multiple agricultural and socioeconomic shocks. To maximize that it doesn't overwhelm the system, be able to adapt to it or absorb it or transform those shocks into more like opportunities and drivers to be able to resist it in the way you can stand. The system can stand. It's about supporting productivity even during climate extremes. We talk about flood and drought. How can we still support productivity? That is what resilience means. That in spite of the high incidence of dry spells and flood, we can still support agricultural productivity during those periods to improve livelihoods. It's about integrating flexibility, multiple water sources, cropping systems, and energy types in the system for the overall resilience of the socio-ecological system. It's about aligning irrigation with broader livelihood resilience, not just yield. So when we're talking about resilience here, it's not just about the yield, it's about the whole system, socio-ecological system that we know is able to sustain and sustain the livelihood of the various communities. So that's what it means in terms of resilience in the irrigation system. It's not going to the next. can you help me move to the next slide? It's not. So, what are those innovative approaches that should be grounded in our context? If we want to say we are building resilience in irrigation state, what are those innovative approaches? They have to be approaches that are localized, with localized innovation, solutions that are co-developed with farmers, notwithstanding where it is coming from. They have to be very relevant to the farming communities. There have to be social innovations, where we have like cooperatives for shared infrastructure. They have to have youth-led services that takes into consideration the social system and network in which the irrigation is situated. We have to have something that is linked to the market-linked models, irrigation that is tied to, for example, off-takers, where there is no challenge with marketing the produce that have been developed, that have been generated due to increased irrigation, due to the resilience that have been built. There have to be market opportunities that are linked to it, where there are already other cold chains or backward link, upward linkage off-takers ready to help to be able to absorb those products that have been produced. I also have something around decentralized energy too. When we just finished something on NESO's water, food, energy system. So we are talking about building resilience. Then we need to be thinking about, decentralized energy system, not just a centralized kind of thing, like solar or like group pumps and all that. But it starts with water. It starts with water availability, looking at the complexity and the water network, surface water network in the region, looking at the abundant groundwater resources. So we have to think about how do we govern the water that we have, how do we exploit the water that we have very well in a way that it can sustain and help to build the resilience of the communities and the farmers. So it starts with understanding water availability. It starts with accounting for water effectively that will be put into agriculture or maybe taken out of agriculture. And if you look at the West African region, you see that we have many transboundary river basins. It also implies that we need to have a cross-border coordination for those shared water systems, whether it's in the Niger Basin or Volta, Senegal River Basins, Mano, and all that we have a robust system in place to govern the water in this transboundary context. One of the tools that we have heard frequently during this session, IMI session, is the water accounting tool, for example, that we have been using at IMI. For example, in the Volta Basin, we have that have been used to develop the Volta Basin water accounting dashboard to see how water can be allocated to different uses within the region, the basin, the 6 riparian countries in the basin, and to benefit irrigation system. Beyond water availability, we also have to think about climate-informed infrastructure planning. Climate-informed, we have to think about the future. We talk about future-proofed, infrastructure development, not just for the present. We have to think about the future generation, and we have to think about different scenarios, climate scenarios, when we are developing our water infrastructure. So it means that we have to design irrigation systems based on the climate projections and hydrological trends, and integrating early warning systems and climate risk assessment into the planning process, so that we don't lose sight of the fact that we are living in situations, in times of climate extremes, where we really need to make adequate provision for those changes in the climate, in the extreme weather conditions. It also involves like using nature-based solutions, including recharging our aquifers, and also overall water and soil management, water and land management in the irrigated system. It implies also encouraging multi-purpose infrastructure that supports not only irrigation and not only for crop production. In West Africa, where we have mixed crop livestock systems, we have to also think about livestock, we have to think about aquaculture, fish. So we have to think about multiple use of those infrastructure that we have. And also for the environment, flood control and ecosystem services. That we have to rethink the way we develop our infrastructure, we plan and maintain our infrastructure generally. It has to be flexible enough to adapt to any uncertainties, maybe the release of water from upstream dams and all that, so that the downstream users will not be affected and all that. So it's basically about promoting resilience corridors, strategic green belts, linking water across communities, having climate smart villages and all that. These are some of the things that we have to be thinking about at different levels to be able to build, in terms of rethinking irrigation in West Africa. The next thing is beyond, this is not working very well. It's not taking me to the next slide. So maybe I will take from my notes. Okay, because I don't remember the sequence, so that I don't talk out of the sequence that I have. So beyond infrastructure, we have to think about technologies for the irrigation. There are many technologies at different levels, technologies that fit into farmer-led systems, technologies that fit into medium irrigation systems, and very good technologies that fit into large-scale irrigation systems. So across scales, so we have to think about the appropriate technologies. There's a previous slide here that shows an example of various technologies. And I think my colleague showed this one yesterday, various technologies that IWMI has promoted in the region, and also outside the region, in the context of the TARS program that we implemented, from solar pumps to shallow tube well, drip irrigation, rain tube and sprinklers, alternative wetting and drying in rice cultivation, raised beds, closed pipe system that we also tried out in the northern Ghana. I can see Professor Igbadu smiling there because he was involved in that. Check dams and all that. These are some simple irrigation technologies, but it's not just technology in terms of just, I know this technology. We have to understand the supply chain. We have to understand how we can manage, the whole chain, irrigation value chain, with the supply of the equipment and the actors that are involved, how they are connected. We have to take all that into consideration when we are rethinking irrigation in the region. Example is what we also shared this example yesterday, how we have used some of these simple technologies to enhance irrigation, particularly in the Sahelian region, in the countries of Nigeria, Mali, and Burkina Faso, and how farmers were very excited. Of course, it has been in Nigeria before, but when we introduced it to Mali and Burkina Faso, and they quickly took it up, the tube wells, and they use it for rice cultivation. Beyond that, another example I wanted to show is the sensor, the chameleon sensor that we tried out in the context of the IFAD supported project in Ghana, where we looked at, it's a low-cost technology. I'm talking about technologies now. It's a low-cost technology that has been used to be able to schedule irrigation water availability. So it's not just about water availability. It's not only about infrastructure. It's not only about having technology. We have to think about the appropriate technologies and when we can deploy it, not only for lifting water, but also for scaling water and distributing water to effectively, so that it will enhance the productivity. When Mota was introducing the session when he was talking about rethinking irrigation in the region, he talked about inclusiveness. That's very important. We have to start looking at youth and gender, looking at irrigation from youth and gender innovation lens. What we mean by that is it's not just a kind of male-dominated system. We have to think about technologies that are very good for youth. What about youth-led irrigation services? Where we can have youth, and you agree with me. Thank you. Very true. So we have to start thinking about revolutionizing the irrigation sector in West Africa with all our youth that are not employed. How do we apply digital innovation, equip them? They'll be very excited to go begin to deploy irrigation as a service with all kinds of digital tools that they are empowered with. They will brag with it because there is new. It's not like the normal hoe and cutlass kind of irrigation agriculture that we practice. They'll be very happy. There are many things along the irrigation value chain that can really help young people, you know, installation, repairs, water supply, you know, finances, services. Sheyi here. Sheyi told us an example in the last session. It's a young guy who is also supporting irrigators, you know, and with different financial mechanisms to be able to have access to inputs. So that's an example. What about women? And tomorrow there's a dedicated session for women. I invite you to join that session. We're going to look at women entrepreneurship in irrigation in Africa. So, say that again. Man, you already have yours. It's already done. It's a done deal for you. Yeah. So basically, we have to start thinking about women-focused irrigation access schemes. Not the conventional schemes may not be okay for women. So when we are thinking about irrigation development, we have to think about how women can have access. Maybe a woman that is backing a child and is going to do irrigation. What kind of irrigation system are we going to make? That's our reality. Women, they are multitasking, they are laboring, they can go to the farm with the baby at the back, bending down, trying to do, you know, that is the reality of a woman. How do you adapt and develop your irrigation system to suit that situation so that you can have more women involved? Or beyond the farm, what other forms of services along the irrigation value chain can really help and promote and incentivize women to be involved? What about water rights, land titles, and all that? Those are things we have to consider. You having youth and gender innovation lens. We also think about technology incubation hubs for irrigation tools. You have to start thinking about that. Bringing accelerators and incubation hubs to train entrepreneurs to have them more involved in irrigation. So we talk a lot about farmer-led irrigation, which is a very, it's a game changer. It promises to be one type of irrigation that can help us to accelerate and change the narrative when it comes to irrigation in West Africa. And we have to reimagine this for scale. To go beyond small pumps, you know, to think about services, to think about the bundle of innovation that can help public-private local partnerships to accelerate uptake, and digital marketplace, you know, for irrigation inputs and services. During this conference, we have shared some of those digital tools that we developed at IWMI, which you can take to other countries. Some of them we have developed in Ghana, but we can also take them to other countries. So these are some of the things we need to start thinking about when we want to rethink irrigation from the conventional practice to something else. Let's provoke ourselves. What if in every secondary school, in every secondary school in the region, we had a demo solar irrigation farm? How do you think it would have been by now? That in the school gardens, those of us that were growing up in those days, we had school gardens. We learn agriculture in school gardens in Nigeria and in African countries. I don't know whether we still have school gardens. What if we had school gardens, irrigated gardens with demonstration, you know, on solar? What if in the cities, as the cities are expanding, the cities, they co-invest in peri-urban irrigation for food security. They are reusing water, they are maximizing the water resources. How do you think it will look like, the green cities? What if in the regional peace-building efforts, in where we have conflicts and in our country, there's efforts included, we include water sharing schemes for multiple purposes, not just for domestic, but also for productive activities. These are the things we need to be thinking about when we say we want to rethink irrigation in the region to face our own reality. So I think the key message is it is time for us to start thinking differently from the conventional public schemes or what we are already used to, bring some innovations into the irrigation sector. Resilience must be locally driven, must be digitally enabled in this present age. With the digital innovations, we must ensure that what we are doing is digitally enabled and socially inclusive. West Africa holds the potential to lead the continent in adaptive irrigation. It's possible, particularly with groundwater and with the huge land area that we still have available, we can start that innovation. And there are a lot of things happening in East Africa. Last week we were in East Africa, we saw a lot of examples. But West Africa is kind of lagging behind, and we can start picking up to develop our sector. One way that we are lagging behind is also in terms of irrigation plans. Last week in Kenya, 2 weeks ago in Kenya, they launched the master plan, irrigation master plan for Kenya. It's one of the few countries in Africa where we have that. I don't think we have that here. And many other African countries. A good example. So in West Africa, we should kind of copy those good practices. Innovation is not just technology, it's also institutions. It's a complex, it's finance. There are norms, cultural norms. It's a bundle that we need to consider. And IWMI and partners are ready to collaborate, and this is something that we have to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Funke. What a comprehensive and inspiring talk. A round of applause again for our keynote speaker. So on this, I would like now to move to the panel. Can we put the next slide? So Funke, please stay with us as I invite the other panelists to join us. Can we have the slides of the panelists, please? Okay, now I would like to invite our panelists today. So we have Engineer Prof. Henry Igbadoun from Amadou Bello University. And Prof. Igbadoun is an expert in irrigation and agricultural water management. He has held national and international consultant position on drip irrigation technologies and innovations and agricultural water management. Thank you for being with us, Prof. And the next panelist is Mr. Amali, who is a young professional in integrated water resources management. His research work spans the fields of satellite remote sensing, irrigation, water use, and the impacts of land use change on climate. And his expertise also includes evapotranspiration modeling, irrigation water management, and the dynamics between soil, vegetation, and water cycle. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us today, so he's joining us online. And I would like now to invite Dr. Mohsin Hafiz from IWMI. So Dr. Hafiz is the director of the strategic program on water, food, and ecosystem at IWMI, where he oversees a large portfolio of projects across Asia, Africa, and also Latin America. He's a distinguished international water and agricultural system expert with nearly 3 decades of management experience in scientific and industry roles. Last but not least, I would like to invite Mrs. So she is an entrepreneur and a passionate farmer with more than 8 years of experience in innovative agriculture, specializing in greenhouse management, hydroponics, vertical farming, and also sack farming, and more. She's the founder and CEO of Etema Farms and Agro Consultancy Limited, and she aims to advance global food security through year-round crop cultivation, farmer training and capacity building, knowledge sharing and experience, and also empowering through self-sufficiency. So thank you all for joining us today. My first question will go to Dr. Kofi, and it goes as follows. Many research projects generate valuable insights, but their impact on policy and practice can be limited. Based on your experience, what are the key challenges in translating irrigation research into actionable policies and real-world change in West Africa? In fact, how can research institutions like IWMI better influence policy and financing decisions to ensure long-term investment in resilient irrigation infrastructure? Do you have a microphone?
Okay, thank you very much, Mokhtar. In terms of the main reason why some of the research results have not really properly informed policy or change policies because of the divide between the research, the policy, and the practice. What I'm saying is that most of the time, we've done a lot of research generally in both the academia and the universities and the research institutes, but because of the disconnects, we just remain in the conventional and academic environment. You just do your science. It's very concentrated on your area of discipline. You do your science. I'm sure Prof will agree with me. If you want to become a professor in the university, you have to continue in that one line of doing irrigation design. If you are going to be a professor in irrigation design, you have no right to go and look at the socio-economic aspect of your design and publish in socio-economic journals and all that. Otherwise, you are not. You won't get good mark score on your papers. So our education system is kind of twisted to being too narrow, and so we generate. That is one, and then we continue to generate that just for the paper. In the conventional academic environment. In the research institute as well, most of the time, research is just done. You have a problem. People genuinely understand that there's a problem, and they go there. They just feel before, you say, okay, let me do it. I address the problem, and I publish my paper. That is us. Somebody else, Dr. Eniola, I don't know whether he's here. I caught him saying that yesterday. I heard you say yesterday that, yes, you have done your paper. Somebody is supposed to take it up. Nobody is going to it's your paper. So you have a responsibility to transform your very wonderful research results into practice. But conventionally, and that's what he demonstrated yesterday. So somebody else has to take it up. But so that has been the case. We have to change the narrative. We have to work together. So we have to take responsibility for the innovation we are bringing in. As scientists, when we develop something, a solution, we have to be very proud of that we ensure that that solution reaches to the end user to impact. And that's what we set out to do at IWMI. So what we're trying to do at IWMI is a research for development. It's not just research for the sake of research. So we look at the development challenge, we say this is the solution, and we bring the end users, the beneficiaries into that co-design process, co-designing solution, co-implementation solution. It will become easy for joint ownership. So if it's not there, it means it's only the professor's brain, and it's just for the professor. The community has nothing to do with that. But that collective action, again, is coming in to co-design solution, co-identify the challenges, co-design the solution, co-implement it, co-own it, and ensure that it is mainstream into existing institutional framework. We have to identify those institutional framework or entry points where the solution will be embedded for sustainability. Then it becomes easy for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Funke, for sharing your insight with us how to connect research, policy, and also practice. From there, I would like to move to Prof. Ibadun. So my question for you is as follows. Many irrigation schemes in West Africa have become abandoned or underutilized. What key design and management flows contribute to this issue? And how can we ensure long-term sustainability of these systems? What role should universities play in bridging the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical scalable irrigation solutions?
All right, thank you very much, Mukhtar. I want to appreciate IWMI for this invitation and opportunity to make this contribution and address the question on ground. Very true, yes, so many irrigation schemes, dams, and generally source of water are abandoned for few reasons, which are outlined here, probably about 7, 8 or so I could mention. Aid, but most of the time, they are not even done by the experts, those who really know from the universities. They are given out to contractors. If I take the Nigerian case, for example, most of these are given out to contractors. And the contractors knows very little, but because they have political influence, so they are able to get the contract. And then when they do, they now begin to look for experts who will do the job for them. And most of the time, they will not want to commit money as it ought to be for those who knows. So they go look for those who could give them ideas, who may not even be real experts, and at the end of the day, they just get things done, and then after some times, it's just not working. Again, around that is the fact that most of the time, some of those who do the design, even when they are experts, they are not able to connect between the pure engineering stuff, connecting it with the users. You want to use this system of irrigation for agriculture. And so, such is better done by those who are trained to blend agriculture with engineering. But if they are done by those who are purely engineers, for example, and permit me to say it here, okay, purely engineers who are in civil and all of that, and they have little understanding of agriculture, so it becomes difficult for you to match that. So you have systems that are designed, for example, for agriculture. It's like you are mounting engineering principle upon agriculture, and you have little background about agriculture. So whatever you put on ground will just not work. So for time's sake, the other reason is the fact that some of these systems are designed without consideration or without clear interaction with all spectrum of stakeholders. And during your presentation, you use one word, co-design. And that in itself should be. I was opportune to do an assessment of the irrigation facility in the Gambia, I think end of 2023. We got to some community, it was sponsored by the African Development Bank. We got to some community where the community were angry and that this work was started and were abandoned. Nobody consulted them, nobody related with them when they were coming to put these facilities on ground. And so they don't have ownership of it. They won't take ownership of it. So it is good that when you're doing such things, we should consider the local conditions, the local, what happens, and pattern some of this to the environment. I think that is one. Another point we could quickly raise. Again, you will talk about poor funding. Poor funding. This system starts, the design starts, the development starts, and they abandon. That's one. Then, again, you have issue of poor management by the users. There were some very interesting structures I visited in Zebila some times ago in Accra. I see that also in Nigeria. You have a line canal. And what do you notice? Somebody comes and he will bore a hole through the line canal to divert water to his field. So I call that abnormal use. The word abuse is actually taken from abnormal use. So abnormal use of these systems, very much responsible for these infrastructures, either breaking down, abandoned, some are silted. Again, you do not, lack of bringing the people together to be able to maintain these structures, for example. So, but I'm happy, for example, in Nigeria, a lot of effort is being done on what is called a Water User Association, get them involved in the management of the different level, whether at tertiary level and secondary level. All that strongly done by the Transforming Irrigation Management in Nigeria. And I think I strongly recommend that model all across Africa. Bring the people together, give them right and responsibility so that these systems can be maintained. Now, these are what do happen. Maybe one or two more before I answer the second part of the question, the issue of data. Either absence or poor data that are being used for design. Many designs these days, now thank God for AI and thank God for all of that, but I can tell you some of those things will not fit to the ground. So it is always good to visit the fields. Get to know what is on ground. And for me, I think this is what I've enjoyed so much. in my last 13 years as a professor, but the last 10 years of it, I enjoyed being on the field, and that has helped me a lot to be able to bridge between what is in the books and what happened on the field. And I think, well, for me, I enjoy doing it, and I strongly recommend that for those who are in the academics. Please don't just sit down and do things theoretically. Visit the fields. Know what is happening. Bring the field to the class, and then bring the class to the field. If this is being done, then things can work well. And that takes me also to the question, okay? So what do we do? How do we bridge this gap? I've started answering that. So bring the field to the class and bring the class to the field. So you shouldn't just sit down as a researcher and then you do all your things, and even when you do research and you do all the papers and all of that, they're just theoretical. So it will do well if we do that. Now, there should be also collaboration. Collaboration. The researchers should work with those who are also practicing systems and institutions that are practicing. Please work together. And let there be that opportunity even given to those on the fields, and let the problem be brought in. So let me pause here in case we have opportunity to say something again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ibadan. Can you have a round of applause for Prof. Ibadan? So you mentioned giving the right job to the right experts, connecting the experts with the user. This is very important. Also making sure that the solutions that are developed are tailored to the local realities. The need for data, that is quite obvious. IMI is working on that a lot. And then also collaboration, research, practice, policy, very important. And then we need to bring the class to the field and also bring the field to the class. Very well noted. So on this, you also mentioned all these technologies, AI, remote sensing, and nowadays you know that the young professionals are very much deeply into it. And we have a young professional with us today. So I would like now to transition to him and then to get his insights on this topic.
If you permit me, just one point I would like to make.
Just 2 seconds, please.
I'm not saying AI and modern technology are not important. Please, I do use such. I'm into modeling and simulations. So, but then the key issue there is validate that with what is on ground. If you don't validate, then you will be operating in the cloud. And sometimes what is in the cloud is different from what is on the ground, if not most of the time. Thank you.
Excellent. This is very good. So we need to connect the cloud and the ground. So now we transition to Mr. Amali from LMU Munich University. And my question for you, Amali, is remote sensing, AI, and evapotranspiration modeling provide valuable insight. But how can we ensure these technologies are accessible and actionable for smallholder farmers in West Africa? And for instance, how can they be used to provide tailored advisory services? And also, what is the role of early career professionals in achieving that mission?
Thank you very much, Mokhtar. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you speak louder,
Great.
please? Or we increase the volume in the room.
I think it's the volume in the room because I'm maxed out here already.
Excellent.
Good. Well, it's a privilege to join you this afternoon on this WaterTalk seminar. Where together we will be rethinking irrigation for resilience in West Africa. Sorry, could someone try, because there is an echo coming back so I can really hear myself very loud. There's a feedback. Ultimately, it is all about democratizing data so that insights from space, algorithms on screen become daily decisions in the field, improving resilience, productivity, and livelihoods across West Africa. In short, data alone does not drive change. I believe people actually do. So by embedding local innovators in the process and investing in platforms for social learning, we can ensure that advanced technologies become everyday tools for resilience, equity, and prosperity in West African farming communities. By embedding these approaches in collaborative platforms like this WaterTalk, for example, we can accelerate the transformation towards a more resilient, more equitable, and sustainable irrigation systems across West Africa.
All right, thank you very much, Amali, for sharing with us your insight of how young professional can play a key role in rethinking how we do irrigation here in West Africa from a technological perspective. You mentioned that we need to make sure that there is a connection between all these technologies and what is happening also on the farm. So that is really key. So it seems like most people are sleeping in the room here. So can I just ask you to stand up just for 1 second and then before we continue? Yeah. Thank you very much. Please stretch yourself. Yeah, just 1 second. All right, thank you very much. Because time is precious, we have to proceed. So now I will go to our next panelist, who is Dr. Hafiz. Do you have a mic? Sorry.
Thank you.
So Dr. Hafiz, given your global experience, what key lessons from other regions like Asia or Latin America could be adapted to improve irrigation resilience in West Africa? And many innovative irrigation technologies exist, but adoption remains slow. So how can we accelerate the scaling of proven solutions across different agro-ecological zones?
Thanks, Mokhtar, for asking a very important question. I mean, when we are talking about improving the farmer resilience for irrigation system or irrigation in West Africa, that's not a new thing. I have worked in the region in Volta Basin from 2000 to 2004. When we were working it, the whole idea was that how we could improve the farmer resilience. Yes, there was some success, somewhere there was no success. But again, the important thing was that what we can provide, how that we translate the information to the policymakers or to the farmers in their language, what they can understand in a very simplified approach. Now, picking up the example from the Asia or from the Australia, other part of the world, one of the important is we are talking about that one, there is a water availability that need to be enhanced. And yes, in Africa, particularly in West Africa, there is good groundwater. And sometime, but at the time, at the way the groundwater is being used, also that's we need to augment the resources. So first point is we need to augment the resources, and for the resources we need to go on a untraditional approach. That basically one of the things how we could have a building a small ponds at the farm scale level, but that could be used for improving the farmers whenever they want to irrigate. I'm talking about very small ponds. And then the second thing is also as well as that when the farmers, that's also augmenting the groundwater. When there is a rainfall or there is a surplus water is available, that water could be used for irrigating on that one. And that's where it's important that one we could do. So we are talking about the augmenting of the groundwater, augmenting of the water sources across at the local scale level. Of course, that could also happen and for larger dams and everything, but that's a much more resources are needed. Second thing is important as a part of that one is the going on that one, who are the major user of the water. When we are talking about the farmers, irrigator farmers, small scale, how we could guide them about when to irrigate, how much to irrigate, and we have seen certain example of the Camelon soil moisture, which is a part of one thing, but we need to think about that how that could be upscale. Of course, that needed resources and everything. But also another way is that one which we are applying in Asia, and that was applied also in Australia, using the irrigation demand forecasting, basically using the AI or data mining techniques, how that could be guiding the information about farmers, when to irrigate, how much to irrigate, but of course that need, as the professor was saying, that needs certain validation point. Validation point are the soil moisture sensor, which we have it, but also the actual ET through the eddy covariance flux tower and everything. But you know that when the metro departments are predicting about the rainfall forecasting and using the data mining techniques, we could do that one, and we are doing that work in the context of Pakistan and some other regions, how we could apply that one and how that could be fitting. And also that's happening in Saudi Arabia. That's also happening in part of the China. But the important thing is that building the trust of the farmers. When they are able to see it, it need to be evidence-based information, and how that evidence could be translated into the part of the one in open. Third important thing is that one, in that way we need to have it. There are several ways. We could bring the farmers at the demonstration farm. We could also work with the Water User Association and make sure that we are bringing the inclusivity, not only for male but also the female farmers, making sure that it's a whole part of the thing together. Another important thing Professor mentioned about that when we are talking about the groundwater and then the infrastructure. Infrastructure need to make sure that it's based on the robust science or evidence based. Typically for the pumps which are being applied, there is no proper sizing of the pump. How much, what kind of pump you needed, whether you need a 5 horsepower solar pump or you need a 10 horsepower solar pump. The people who are typically guiding in the market, they are not the based on they don't have a professional knowledge or the experience, but how they like IWMI, what we have developed some of the solar sizing tools or the pump sizing tools on that one, and how that could be utilized, guiding the average size of thing, and farmer could translate. These are the things which have worked very well in part of the, not everywhere, but in some of the countries in Asia, also in Australia, and some of the countries in Latin America. And I think the important thing is that one, how we could develop those things and make sure that we don't need to go everywhere for the drip irrigation system. Is not. We need to look around the resources, farmers' affordability, and everything. We could go for the raised bed for irrigation. There are several ways we can do it. But important is about that one, the resource base at the ground scale level, and also how the technology, which building the trust of the technology on the farmers. I will say in Australia, when I was working it there, we were going it with the community to get the trust of the farmers. Sometimes we are inviting them and saying this is part of thing in the pub and having a discussion with them, building the trust, deploying certain the information as a demonstration farm, and bringing the other farmers there. Once the farmer, you convince the farmer that is saving them the labor and also giving them a financial incentive, then everyone would love to that one. But the important thing is how to communicate that information. Dr. Funke was talking about that one. The researchers are already researchers are only focusing on producing a paper. Yes, they are looking around the impact factor, which is great. IWMI like institute we also care, but important thing is how that could be translated into practical research for development, how that's beneficial for the community on the ground, are the policy makers on the ground. And we cannot say one size will not fit for all. There we need to go for different pathway using the transdisciplinary approach when we are talking with the farmers, and then in the communicating in a layman language. When we are talking with the policy maker, that's a different thing. And for scientific audience, that's a totally different thing. Typically we follow on the one way and go for the scientific one. No, we need to combine, we need to adjust our things according to that one. So in that way we could work with the community, and hopefully that the different interventions we are talking about, how that could be fitting based on the financial resources, based on the societal needs and everything, based on the climatic condition, that could be helpful for us for upscaling those interventions. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Hafiz, for your intervention and sharing key insights with us. For the sake of time, I will just pass to our next panelist, Mrs. Gladys. So my question for you is that your work in hydroponics, vertical farming, and also sack farming challenges traditional irrigation methods. How scalable are these innovative approaches in addressing food security challenges in West Africa? And what are the biggest barriers preventing smallholder farmers from adopting such innovative irrigation practices, and how could we overcome them? Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. So the urban, we can also call it urban farming. We do greenhouses, vertical farms, hydroponics, and the rest. It's been very important because, as we know, Africa is urbanizing very fast. We are the fastest urbanizing in the world. So the conventional way of growing food is not going to be enough sustain everybody. So people in the urban areas or even people around Africa are now also coming through with these innovative farming systems so that they'll be able to create food also in areas that are not directly in the soil. So we'll be able to contribute to the food security of Africa as well. Some of the barriers to this is, of course, this startup cost is very expensive if you want to do on a large scale that you'll be able to bring more food to the people. If you want to do just a few, maybe like 10 kg, 5 kgs, just a few kg per week, is doable by just using local materials to just set up. But if you really want to create impact, if you want to feed more people, then you have to do on a larger scale, which is expensive. So it makes a lot of people, it serves as a barrier for people not to go into such kind of farming. Also, we have the technical know-how. You know, people in Africa, I think before now, we're doing in the soil. So this is innovative and a lot of people have not gotten there yet. So it takes training for people to really know what this new innovation is about. And some people are still skeptical about it, like what kind of system is this? If it's not from the soil, then there is something wrong with it. So it's another barrier. We have to talk to people more that this is it. It's not really what is in the soil. It's not really the soil that makes the plant to grow, but it's actually what's in the soil. If you are able to get water, nutrient, and all the things that is required for food to grow anywhere you find yourself, even on the rooftop, you can grow it. So another barrier is the acceptance. People are still skeptical about it. Why are you growing food in the sack? Why is it not in the soil? Why are you growing food in just using water and we can see the root? What kind of system is it? So it's part of the barriers. And also, of course, the climate change, which is affecting. So for us, like in Nigeria, the greenhouses we are using, the top is polyethylene, the sides are net. I don't know where that system was gotten from, but in Nigeria, it's very hot. So when you enter inside, like during February, March, when is the hottest time in Nigeria, it's very hot and unbearable. Even the vegetables you are growing inside will not survive. So those kind of climate factors are also affecting us. So some of the ways that we can overcome this is, thank God that IWMI is a research institute. If there is a way you can help us to research how we can get greenhouses that will be cooler, maybe tailored to hot climate, so it will help us to grow food better, because you know greenhouse and hydroponics are supposed to be all year round, but in all honesty, when it comes to this hot period, we are not able to grow. Since February, we've not been able to grow anything successfully in our greenhouses. Even though we try to use shade nets, the difference is just very small. It's not really yielding. So things like that, if there can be research or systems of greenhouses that will favor us more, it will be good. And then, of course, we need more training. Thank God for conferences like this where we can talk about this, so more people are hearing it. So when they see beef tomatoes that are bigger than what is being sold in the open field, they will not say, no, I think this is plastic, or I think this is this. They will be able to accept it. And then more young people are actually interested. Wherever I go to and I say I'm a farmer, they'll be interested. What kind of farming do you do? If I say, okay, I'm into hydroponics and vertical farm, so they are interested. It's a very fine way of farming. You are not going to get dirty. So if people receive more training, young people receive more training, is going to be very helpful. And one of the challenges we have in Nigeria also is female land ownership. So most times it'll be like, before you have land, maybe your father or your husband or somebody have to get the land for you. So if we're doing innovative farming like the greenhouses, the vertical farming that require little space but can give you high production. So you have a small place as a woman, you can be able to do a lot with it. So these are some of the ways that it can help.
Thank you very much. You want to add something?
Okay, thank you very much. I so much appreciate her contribution. I just want to add just a bit. She raised the issue of high temperature within the greenhouses and what can be the way out. Now, the real issue is we need to now have crops that are resistant to heat. I think that's one area that research will concentrate on. Heat-tolerant variety. That's the gap. Most of the time, the greenhouses, as is understood in the temperate region. In fact, in the temperate, those kind of greenhouses are even needed for them to grow tropical crops. Yet, we just import them and bring them to Nigeria and bring them to Africa or West Africa, where it is already temperate, tropic. The temperatures are already in their 30s. Then with a greenhouse, the temperature builds, and then the temperature becomes 40, 45, and then you grow vegetable, there will be flower abortion. And those things can never work. So for our people who are bringing these things, there must be a collaboration with those who knows. And that's why they should patronize the university. And that's what I say still remains relevant. Bring the field to the school, and then bring the school, the classroom, to the field. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. They also know that there are locally available materials that Green Habitat International, Mustafa, are you there, that they are using, and I wonder whether you are able to produce all year round because you are using locally available materials for your greenhouse. Maybe just a quick one. Just a quick one on that.
We wrap up the panel discussion, and we'll have opportunities for everybody to ask questions, and then more comments to come. Yeah, a comments? All right. Okay.
We have this Songhai farm. It's like a prototype of what you have in a Songhai farm. One of the things we do, apart from the resistant, seedlings, we also talked about position it in a ventilated area, and also try as much as possible to use material that we can reduce the heat impact in the environment. One of these when we're talking, they said you can put AC, but we know that is out of it. But those are some of the areas that I think we can, utilize. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the great insight. So now it's time to open the floor for questions for the audience. So if you have questions, it's the time to interact with our speakers or comments as well. They are welcome. So both on-site and also online. Do we have questions in the room? 1, 2 questions, 3. Okay. Sadia, do we have questions online? You get them ready. I will start with the room first.
Yes, we do have a few. I'll get them ready. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We start with the room and we got back to you. We'll get back to you online. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much, Mukhtar, and I thank the panelists. It was a nice discussion and also reflection from your experience. My question is just a general question that can be answered by any of the panelists. Yesterday, we saw one picture from DIWASA output that shows a high density drainage network like discharge for Africa. And when I looked at that picture on the slide, there is a clear division of sub-Saharan Africa and the top part. Now, when we look at the irrigation density is higher above the sub-Saharan than the lower one. Considering that into your minds, my question is, in countries where there is a physical water scarcity, they have a better or developed way of irrigation system. Whereas I cannot say all, but few countries in sub-Saharan Africa where there is abundant rainfall and also heavy discharge network in terms of natural streams, these countries are struggling to feed their population. So what is the problem in your view?
We'll take all the questions first and then give the opportunity to the speaker to answer. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. So thank you. This is to appreciate all the panelists and especially my sister implementing hydroponics. So just wanted to comment on the question raised by Ms. Koki. Yeah, so with regards to the heats that affects the hydroponic system, yeah, it's really resonated with me, especially since we are just piloting the system in that community. So we have experienced our crops being affected by heat indeed. But then what we did that time was to introduce a fresh water that runs through the system that is cooler to cool off the roots of the plants, and we were able to save our plants during those periods that were really hot, and thankfully the crops survived. So with regards to the use of locally available materials, I think what we focused our energy with regards to that was to really make the systems affordable for the local communities in such a way that they are able to adopt the hydroponic system without necessarily having to go for the expensive materials that are out of reach to them. But it's a good insight that we start to look at systems that can adapt to our temperate regions so as to make the system more adaptable. And yes, I think all year-round farming using the hydroponic system is very possible, and we look forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, can I go ahead? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I also join my other distinguished participants in appreciating the panel for their contributions and any other presenter. My question is coming from the background of the African governance system generally. If you look at Africa generally, we allow all things, almost all the liabilities are left for only government alone. Education, roads, agri, water system, health, everything is left in the hand of government. Now, having this background, the question I want to ask, a presenter talk about water security, that we need to, in agri-irrigation system, we need to be using the water we are using for consumption should also be used for productivity. Very important point. But if you look at the challenges we are facing in our society, rivers are drying because of the climate change. If you drill borehole, you hardly get 60% of the benefits out of it. So if you drill borehole today, in the next 2 to 3 months, before you know, the borehole dry up. So these are the challenges. Even at the rural areas, you find out that the rivers are drying. People suffer to have drinking water, potable water. So in this case, how do we assist farmers at the rural areas under serious difficulties of water availability and under serious challenges of enormous liability to government? Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Engineer Timothy Auta from Upper Niger River Basin Development Authority. So there's so much knowledge here. There's so much going on. But I always wonder at these conferences, you know, there's so much knowledge gap. What we are discussing here, the man on the field barely knows a quarter of it. And in the 80s, I know growing up, 70s, 80s, there was a lot of extension services, and the farmers had information and were guided. How do we bridge this knowledge gap? There's a wide knowledge gap. For instance, what Ms. Gladys talked about, people being skeptical just about the size of a tomato that is so big, more than average, the size, the normal size. They're thinking, what have they done to this thing? It's unnatural. So how do you bridge this gap and therefore create a climate of acceptance? The second thing is, which is easier? I was wondering, you know, the same problem she talked about with the greenhouses and the materials used and the heat and the temperatures. Which is easier, researching into more resilient species, I mean, what do you call them? For the plants, for the crops, resistant to heat-resistant varieties, as against what Dr. Odive said about creating materials, innovations in materials used for the greenhouses, which can allow more ventilation and are more heat resistant, which is easier and quicker to, or which will be faster to make available to the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take one question online and then we go to the speakers. Sadia, can we have one question from the online participants?
Yes. Yes, we do have a question from Thakur Pandit, and he's asking, water flows or allocations in irrigation canals are not optimized in most of the cases in large-scale systems. Any best practice cases in Africa? The rest are mostly comments, you know, reiterating some of the very key points made by the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we can give the floor to our speakers to answer those questions. You can take them in any order.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're in order, but I think I identified two that I can just quickly respond to. The person that asked about water allocation and multiple use. When I was making a presentation, I talked about how we can do climate-informed infrastructure planning, and I talked about us not designing infrastructure for single use but multiple purposes. Whether it is we have water scarcity or not, we have to think about the multiple use and see what is feasible in each context. So it's not just about just what domestic water supply. We can also talk about the productive use of water. That's what I said. So it all depends on the available water and how we want to share that among different uses, depending on the context. Then the other thing about knowledge gap. One of the ways we can bridge a knowledge gap is to do this knowledge sharing. This is a knowledge sharing platform, for example. Many of us didn't know, my sister there, we just heard about her and we connected, come and share your experience. So she has shared the experiences with us now, and then from here we share with other people. That is one way. So this is a knowledge sharing platform. And particularly for this WaterTalk, we have been doing it for some time now. The theme line is navigating water realities in West Africa. And it's a multi-stakeholder platform where water users and all kinds of people, researchers, water planners come to listen, have dialogue on how can we address, how can we address the water challenges, what are the issues coming up, and how can we address. So depending on the seminar, we have different themes, different topics. So for this particular one, because we are doing irrigation conference, we've aligned it to irrigation and water use. So it's also another one. So here, as we're talking now, I'm sure there are multiple stakeholders. There are people that are coming from Ministry of Agriculture, there are people from River Basin authorities, there are NGOs, there are private sectors and all that. And so coming together in a community like this is a platform of expression, of sharing, and then we can also take that back to our respective domains to share the knowledge further. So basically, in terms of multiple use, going back to that, the last question I want to respond to about which is easier. I think it's not so much about which is easier, which one is most appropriate, which one will be most relevant, and that has to do with the context, the cost. the relevance to the users. So all that has to be taken into consideration. There's a place for water heat-tolerant varieties. There's also a place for sustainable use and investigating into materials. So all this requires some kind of more research to look into. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. I think I'll respond to the first question. I think very strongly. I saw that that hydrological map yesterday, and I think there is this old notion that areas where you have high rainfall, irrigation practice is not important. That notion is still very much on ground. But then we need to begin to do some reorientation and show clearly that irrigation is needed in all areas with clear data, because that's the only way to get people convinced. With my going out and all that, and being on the field, there are farmers who will not believe you when you say water, they should manage water. Some have this orientation that the water is given by God. So looking for how to minimize or use efficiently that idea, that notion is still there. There are even those who argue because you have the dam holding the water and the water is now coming by gravity, they feel that all these other innovation and technology are more expensive than surface irrigation. By the way, across Africa and Asia, there are facts that up to 60% of irrigation or even more are still purely surface. Now, but I have tried to argue and show that it is even more expensive, for example, to run a surface system than even your sprinkler and your drip. Why? People don't see it because some of those, the major infrastructure, the major infrastructure, the dam, is built by government. So everybody sees that as a free thing. Government did it. But to set up such and even manage those large infrastructure is expensive compared to if I have to tap groundwater and then connect to my drip and connect to my sprinklers. But people don't see it that way. But it costs more to put a dam in a place. It costs more to sustain that dam. But nobody's looking at it. All that is government. So in summary, we have to continue to, reorient, get people to understand. There are even some governments who don't see irrigation as relevant, especially in their country, because they feel they have rainfall all over, throughout the year. Okay, but with what we're seeing now happening with climate change and all of that, that reorientation should begin and continue. And I think we're all doing strongly in that. IMI is good at that, and many other institutions. We need to keep pushing in that direction. The other point I will raise is investment, funding. It's what is being invested, the funds for irrigation. I think sometimes 2022 in Dakar are talking of stepping from the 16 to 19 million US dollar to about 60 in 2030. About 2030 is almost here. So we need funds and nations should invest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, Dr. Hafiz.
Thank you, Joe. I will just address on two questions. One is on the water availability and multi-sectoral water demand. I think that till to date, irrigated agriculture used to get the water 80%, 90%. Globally, it's 70%. Somewhere it's 95%. But now, as the population grows and many other challenges they found, we need to look around seriously on a multi-sectoral water demand and saying what are our priorities for the domestic, for the industry, for the environment, and of course for the agriculture. There are several ways we could, small scale, we could optimize the water use at the farm scale, but also we need to look around if there's a serious risk on the climate and we don't have funds available and everything, what can we do differently? Is that the area really fit for the for agriculture? That's an open question which we need to look into that one. What are the alternative options instead of the fresh water? What we can do it? How we could adjust our system accordingly? Second question, was about relevant to the canal optimization. Many of the areas in canal, I mean in a large irrigation system in Africa and when we are talking about canal was developed in a certain time for irrigating number of area, but for now we need to look into that one. Is that the bigger canals are really helpful for healthy for us for maintaining? Do we have enough flow to provide all the water? If not, what could we do? There are examples in Australia where they have canal optimized that one, adjusting the canal as a part of modernization, and so that the canals are more efficient. There is less water loss as a part of that one. Also similar example, taking the example in Central Asia, the system was built in 1960 when it was a whole Russia, and there was a larger canal that has a huge losses, and the productivity is really very low. So we need to look around the productivity of water. We need to look around the economics of the water and saying about that and what we can do it. And then again, how we could rationalize basically canal optimize on that one, and maybe dropping certain area where the farm is located so far off on there from the irrigation system, and in between what can we do differently, and how we could basically thinking about that one, the optimizing the canal, and then as a part of modernization system, as we will be, because many of the system in Africa, which is built in the late 80s, that need to optimize, and how we could do the resources better way, and thinking about do we need the canals, are we able to run the pipe system also as a part of that one. We need to think all those things as a part of, but at the system scale level, and that's where the evidence-based information will matter a lot. And IWMI, like institute and other, the academia, how we could develop some of the practical solutions and working with the community, which are most cost-effective ways to improving the water availability and rationalizing the water use for multiple sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rafis. Yes, Gladys.
Yeah, I'll be responding to whether the producing of cooling materials or resistant variety, which is faster. Like I mentioned earlier, to start up a small hydroponic system or vertical farm with about $100, you can, with local materials, you can actually start that up. But to be able to scale it up to produce more food, you need a more automated system or a bigger system, which it will be kind of expensive or difficult to control the environment. For crops to grow where we are talking about the appropriate temperature, the humidity, the soil temperature and everything, on a small scale, you can easily cover the top. Maybe with local materials, people use palm trees. You could just cut and then cover it, or you use shade net. But if you are talking of a larger capacity, it will not really work. One of the places I've worked before, we had about 2 hectares of greenhouses. We had extractors that remove the hot air from inside the greenhouse, and then we have circulating fans. But the difference in temperature was maybe like 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. And that was Okene. Okene is as hot as Gwagwalada in Abuja. So even though it's using all those cooling materials or getting local materials might help, there's still a lot to be done to research really. I think these ones of the closed spaced net and the polyethylene that prevents rain from falling inside the greenhouse because you want to be the one to give the quantity of water, I think it's better in temperate regions, to be honest. So if the farmers can sit down with research institutes, maybe create a prototype, let's test run it, let's come together and see what will really work for Africa, because almost everybody that is in this field that I've been talking with, they have similar challenges. But it works very well during the rainy season when humidity is fine for most of the crops and the temperature is fine. But as the temperature begins to increase, then there's problem. And also resistant varieties will be good. We are using resistant varieties made for hot climate. But again, it gets to a temperature, no matter the crop you are growing, if it's reaching 45 to 48 degrees, the crop will start misbehaving. You see flower abortion, you see the crop changing color, no matter the nutrient you are giving. So it's an innovation, welcome innovation. It has really helped us. It's a fantastic way of growing crop without using much pesticides as compared to the conventional ones. But we really need more work to be done so that in the end, we'll get it right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gladys. Can we have a round of applause for all of our speakers? So now we'll move to, I think, because of time, I'll encourage you to get in touch with the speakers during the coffee break for more interactions. Now we have a little surprise for you. Our note taker has been drawing some of the insights for this session. So we would now like to invite her to present what she's been capturing from these discussions during these sessions. No, we can review. Oh, yeah. Yes, the floor is yours, Julia, if you want to comment on this.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. I've been here in the background capturing the key insights, and I hope you can see it in front of you, and allow me to walk you through it a bit. So what I like to do is, if you squint, you'll see the white text popping out is what I felt were the key insights. And so there's a part here, this was from the keynote. There was a part on like resilience, how innovation should be social and local, and it's much more than technology. That's this. And then how West Africa can lead in adaptive irrigation and how you're ready to collaborate. And then this part is about the panel discussion, scalability, how to translate irrigation research into actionable policies, some of the key insights around it, ensuring long-term sustainability. I really like this quote about bringing the field to the class, and how important code designing is. And finally, in this section, you have scalability and how it's connected to making technologies accessible. So hence this line and all of your great insights around it. So I hope this will help you navigate, and you'll receive this in an email and on social media, and I hope it will help you remember this great conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Julia. Can we have a round of applause for Julia? It's almost time to say goodbye, but before that, I would like to invite Dr. Mark Smith, Director General of IWMI, for the closing remarks.
Thank you. So, who's been in this room for all three sessions this morning? Okay, so I'm the close guy. Okay, I do all the closings. Okay, listen, resilience is one of my favorite things to think about. So I really welcome this discussion, and all of the contributions that everyone has made. And for sure, as we heard from the very first presenter, when we're looking at the future with climate change in any region of the world, but certainly in this region, we need to be thinking about how we adapt the systems that we have for resilience. And then the key thing, in my view, to remember, and you highlighted this so well in your presentation, Funke, is that resilience has different building blocks that must come together. We make a mistake if we assume that introducing a technology equals resilience. And there's a variety of components that need to come together, of which as you highlighted, Funke, governance is one, decentralized systems, data and information that helps make decisions in the system, localized innovation and linking that to those other components, and yes, certainly technologies. But the key thing is to be able to stitch these things together. In the panel, we talked a lot about data and AI and technologies, all of which is good, all of which is part of those building blocks that we need for resilience. But we must keep in mind that it goes together with those other components, including adaptive governance, including governance that works across scales and so on. And speaking of working across scales, one of the key insights, it's not news, but it's so important as you said, we must be sure to connect the cloud to the ground. This is key for the success of this kind of work, but also for delivering on resilience. So really important part of the priorities that we will have in moving forward into a future that's increasingly challenged by climate change. So great contributions today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Can we have a round of applause for our DG? So now that we draw the curtain on this session, we would like to thank all the participants who joined us here on site and also online. So a round of applause for all of you who joined us today. Also, we would like to thank our partner, ECOWAS, for the trust in collaborating with us on organizing this WaterTalk. Also, a big thank you to the organizing committee of the RCID conference for giving us the opportunity to host the WaterTalk here in Abuja. This is the first edition outside of our office in Ghana, and we hope to do more in other countries. Also, we'd like to thank the organizing team of the WaterTalk and everyone who participated to this session here. So up to the next WaterTalk, stay connected, stay inspired, and then, let's rethink irrigation for resilience in West Africa, one drop at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mokhtar. So we will take a group photograph, but before then, just a quick announcement, and we shouldn't forget to thank our translators, interpreters too. Thank you. Let's clap for them. Thank you very much, and all the online participants. So we are going to break now to go for coffee, but there's another session after this. I'm just announcing it. Yes, that session is led by IFPRI, our sister organization, and is after break. Please, you can join this session. We're also going to be part. It's a very important discussion on the kind of process and what it means for agricultural water management. So very, very important. The CADEP is the overarching African comprehensive agricultural framework that is governing all agricultural projects and interventions in the countries. We're going to take a group photograph. Please let me remind you to visit the IWMI booth. I see a lot of photographs. Some people have taken very nice photographs there. Please visit the IWMI booth. Don't forget to write down your name if you have not done so. You were given this card for you to fill in your information so that we can keep engaging with you even after leaving this place. Thank you very much. So please photograph. Enjoy the coffee and tea break. Let's continue the conversation. Come back after thereabout.